Negative Numbers and Shuffleboard by Jeff Simpson, MasteryLearningSystems.com. This video shows how negative numbers are used in keeping score in Shuffleboard. You will learn a little bit about negative numbers, why we have them, and how we use them. Shuffleboard is a game where you shove things on a board. You see all these little discs here? They get shoved down to the other end of the board. Shuffleboard was invented hundreds of years ago in England. Henry VIII, King of England, liked to play shuffleboard. You can also play shuffleboard on a long court, inside or outside. The things you slide on the long court are called discs, or pucks, or weights. You shove them with a cue, and they slide to the other end of the court. At each end of the court is a diagram that looks like this. If you slide your disc and it stops here, you get 10 points. You can see on the scoreboard the arrow is pointing to a 10 for 10 points. If your disc stops here, look there at the scoring diagram, you get 8 points. And if your disc stops here, you get 7 points. If your disc stops here, watch out. You're in the kitchen, as they say, and you lose 10 points. Your score is going to go down. If your disc stops on a line, you get no points. If you slid two discs and they stopped in these two places, how many points would you get altogether? Well, you'd get 18 points because 10 plus 8 more makes 18. If you slid two discs to these places, how many points would you get altogether? Well, just 8 points because one of the discs is on a line and you don't get any points for that one. If you slid two discs to these places, what would your score be then? 16 is right, because 8 plus 8 more makes 16. If your two discs slid to these places, how many points would you get? Well, if you don't know what 7 plus 7 is, you can look at the scoreboard. It's pointing to 7 right now, and count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 jumps, and you're at 14. So 7 plus 7 is 14 points. Okay, if you slid two discs to these places, how many points would you get then? Well, let's say not sure what 8 plus 7 is, so you start at 8 on the number line or the scoreboard, and then you're going to count upwards 7 jumps or 7 spaces. Here goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can see that 8 plus 7 is 15. So you get 15 points. If you slid 3 discs to these places, how many points would you get altogether? Well, you've got an 8 and a 7. Add those together, you get 15. But then you've got 10 off, so you have to do 15 minus 10. So you start at 15, And we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you end at 5. So you get 5 points. If you slid 3 discs to these 3 places, how many points would you get altogether then? Well, you got a 7 and a 7. Add those together, you get 14. So we could start at 14 on our scoreboard. But then we have to take 10 off, so it's 14 minus 10. And we'll start at 14 and go down. That's the subtracting direction, going down 10 jumps, or 10 spaces. So there's 14 minus, and you'd end at 4 points. Well, what if you slid 3 discs to these places? How many points then? Well, you got a 10 and an 8, that makes 18. And then 18 minus 10, because you're in the 10 off place with that 1 disc. 18 minus 10 is 8. So you get 8 points. Here's another one for 3 discs. 10. One of them's on a line. How many points would you get now? Well, you got 10, and then there's 1 on the line, so that's 10 plus 0, so it's 10. But then you got 10 off, so 10 minus 10 is 0. So you get 0 points on this turn. Here's another one for 3 discs. That one's on a line. 8 plus 0. So far, we got 8 points. And then one more disc, is 10 off. So how many points would you get altogether? Well, we have to start at 8 and then go down 10 jumps because we're subtracting. So we start at 8 and we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Uh-oh. We just went below 0. What numbers are down there? -1 and -2. -1 is one number below 0. -2 is, well, a little farther down. So you end at -2, and that's your score. You get -2 points. If you slid 3 discs to these places, let's see what happens now. Well, you have a 7 and a 0. That makes 7. 10 off again. How many points would you get? 7 minus 10. So we have to start at 7 on the scoreboard and go down 10 jumps because we're subtracting. Starting 7, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, what number are we going to be at down there? -1, -2, -3. Yep, so you get -3 points on this turn. Here's one for 4 discs. If you slid 4 discs to these places, so you have an 8 and an 8, that makes 16. So point at 16 on the scoreboard. And then you got 10 off and another 10 off. How many points would you get altogether? Well, let's see. We have 16 minus 10 minus 10. So it's 16 minus 20. So we start at 16 and we subtract, going downwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Did you figure that one out before I got there? Yep, -4. You get -4 points on that turn. If you slid 4 discs to these places, let's see what happens now. Well, so far we've got an 8 and a 7. Add them together, that makes 15. So we'll point to 15 on the scoreboard. And we've got minus 10, another minus 10. How many points? Let's see, you have to do 15 minus 10 minus, that's 15 minus 20. Well, let's see. Start at 15, and we'll have to count down 20 jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yep, and you end at -5. So this turn you get -5 points. Okay, here's one for one disc. What if you slid one disc to this place? How many points would you get? Well, -10. Or you can call it -10 or -10. Yep, -10 points. Well, what if your first disc stopped on 10 off? So we're pointing over there at the scoreboard at -10. And your second disc stopped on 8. Well, you have to add 8 points. How many points would you get? Well, you start at -10. Now, do you go up or down? Well, it's adding, so we'll go up. How many jumps? 8. 8 jumps. There goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you end at -2. So this score would be -2 points. What if your first disc stopped again on 10 off? So down there at -10. And your second disc stopped on, let's say, 7. -10 plus 7. How many points would you get? Well, you start there at -10. We're going to go up, jumping up 7 spaces. There it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we ended at -3, so your score is -3 points. Here's something to notice. If you start at -10 and then go up 7 spaces, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you end at -3. Well, let's take those numbers and rearrange them. So now we start at 7 and go down 2, 3, 4, go down 10, and you also end at -3. So if you start at 7 and go down 10 spaces, you end at -3. Okay, if your first disc stopped on 10 off, and your next discs stopped on 7 and 8. So you get a +7 and a +8. How many points would you get? Well, we're starting at -10. So we're going to go up 7 jumps because we're adding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we have to go up 8 more jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we end at 5. So you get 5 points. So let's try another one. Oh, but here's something to notice. -10 plus 7 plus 8 is actually the same as -10 plus 15. If you start at -10 and then go up 15 spaces, you end at 5. Let's take the numbers and rearrange them. If you start at 15, you could call that +15 if you wanted, and then go down 10 spaces, -10, you end at the same place, you end at 5. Well, now you know that negative numbers go below 0, and you can use them in keeping score in Shuffleboard. While figuring out Shuffleboard scores, you did a little bit of adding with negative numbers, and you did a little bit of subtracting with them. Place and action. When you see a problem like this, 8 plus 7, you start on the scoreboard at the 8 place, and then you do the plus 7 action, place and action. You go up 7. You start at the place called 8, and you do the action called adding 7, place and action. Here's another place and action. So with this problem, negative 10 plus 8, you start at the negative 10 place and do the plus 8 action, place, action. And with this problem, 8 minus 10, you start at the 8 place and do the minus 10 action, place, and action.